Namaste. My name is Divakar Upadhyay Aryal, as you can see on the screen here, and I am a lecturer at the Central Department of English, Tribhuvan Kirtipur Central Campus. And in this short video, I'm going to talk about how to read a visual text. The word text is a very broad term. If you understand the word text culturally, then any artifact, any object that can make a meaning to the viewers or the readers can be considered as text, speaking broadly. But if we speak narrowly or specifically, what you see on the screen, how to read a visual text, that is a text. And as I speak to you and as you listen to me, this this is verbal now. You can listen to me, right? I'm speaking to you. So we have verbal text, verbal language, as well as we have visual text. The text you see on the screen, for example, here is an example of visual text. And the word visual text means something else as well. When, for example, in the second slide, let me show you, this is more mix of the verbal as well as the visual text. So do you see in this image the verbal and the visual interact? And I want to talk, how do we read such text? This is the cover page of the textbook, which has been prescribed for students at studying academic writing too at the Central Department of English. And this is the cover page. Now, as you look at the visual text, the first thing you can do is pay attention to the use of the color. For example, do you see the color contrast here? It is very effective. For example, what colors do we see here? We see the purple color in the center, and then we see the yellow color, and then mainly we have purple and yellow, right? And then we have some other images. For example, on the top right corner, you can see the picture of the uh, policeman standing maybe in a street or maybe in a place of violence. In their left side top, you can see some face masks, particularly medical face masks, as you can see by the color of these masks, blue colored, light blue colored. They have been placed maybe on a table, a yellow colored table. Then below that image of the face mask, you can see a postal stamp, something that looks like a postal stamp, and it says voted by mail. And you can see the Union Jack there. I guess Union Jack should be the name of the American national flag. Is that? I'm not sure. Is it British flag that is called Union Jack, or is it American? I guess it's no. British flag is called Union Jack, I guess, and the American flag is called the Stars and Strips, I guess. Stars and Strips. As you can see, there are almost 50 stars representing the 50 states of America, and then you have this strip there. And there's a text, voted by mail. Then if you come below that text, that image, you will see the fourth image, where you see a beautiful young blonde lady very carefully reading something. You can see she has a book open and she's reading, and there's a laptop in front of her, and she's not smiling. She looks quite serious, and she's engrossed in her process of reading. Then on the right hand side bottom, you see another image. where you see some words like FACT, and the words A and C are in a larger size because they have been placed under the magnifying glass. And you have the word fact. Then in the center, you have a circle, and the background color of this circle is purple, as you can see, and the foreground color of the circle is, there are two or three colors. Like for example, on top you have the text that says ninth edition, and the color of this text is quite foregrounding. It's yellow, as you can see, and the yellow beautifully contrasts with the purple. Then you have uh, another title that says everything is an argument. And what catches our attention, if you see carefully, is normally the titles of the books or titles of anything for that matter, uh, they are spelled with a capital letter in the first word of the title. So the E in this title should be in uppercase, capital letter. But as you can see, this is not so. It is in the lowercase, right? And this draws the reader's attention quickly. This must be a strategy done by the designers, right? The moment you see the title, it draws your attention because we have this habit of looking for grammatical errors mostly, right? And what draws our attention is we say, why is that E written in lowercase and not in uppercase? And moreover, you see, there is a contraction. Everything's, everything is. Normally, in a title of the book or in formal writing, in academic writing, in scholarly writings, we avoid using such contractions. Contractions come in spoken language. And when we transcribe spoken language, then we keep the contractions intact to show people that this is spoken language, right? But here you see it's a printed title of a university textbook, but it is violating the rule that says that you should not use contractions. It should say everything is an argument. And when you write a title, for example, then the first letter of the first word should be capitalized. Then uh, other content words also should be capitalized. For example, argument is a content word. So the letter A in argument should be in uppercase. And the function words or grammatical words like is or an, we call them as function words or grammatical words. They don't have to be capitalized. But sometimes editors or uh, 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 publishers might choose to uh, make them capital, just to draw attention. This is, do you see, we have a text that is the verbal text, we have words, but the way they look is more important here. And we are glued to the title because of the way it looks, right? I talked about the spelling, right? I talked about capitalization. But do you see the visual aspect of the title? The title is printed in white color, and this white color is very beautifully, very strongly contrasting against the purple background. So as we pick up the book with, let's say, to buy, if we are consumers in a bookshop, it easily and quickly draws our attention, and it might make a psychological motivation to us to buy the text, right? So when you make a visual analysis, you pay attention to how the text appears, and not only how the text appears, you pay deeper attention to if there is an intention in making the text appear that way, right? Because When we say something, we have an intention. When we do something, we have an intention. We have choices, and we make certain choices, and we don't make certain choices. Why we make certain choices? Because we have politics here. What is that politics? We want to make impressions. We want to make an impact on people. We have a purpose to achieve. So in order to achieve that purpose, we use the text in a certain way. We do certain things and we don't do certain things. So is used language is a resource available to us to do something, to get things done. And to get things done, we use language as a tool. And there comes the idea of choices, right? Selections. For example, why did the designers or editors or the writers or the publishers of this cover page choose to use lowercase e and use contractions in this title, though this is against the rule? By breaking the rules, they are foregrounding something, right? And they are trying to draw our attention. So our job in visual analysis is to bring to light not only what is being said, but more importantly, how is it being said and why it is being said that way. Three things I said: what is being said, how is it being said, and why is it being said that way. For example, if you read this book, it tells that everything is an argument because everything expresses a perspective. How can you say that everything is an argument? Because everything we do, everything we say expresses a perspective. For example, even this video that I'm making, it makes an argument. It has a perspective. For example, my perspective is that at the university, learning should be quite accessible to even students who pay fees and go there, and even to those who don't pay fees and don't go there. Learning should be accessible to everyone. That's my philosophy as a teacher. So I make this video, and this video implicitly, indirectly expresses my perspective that learning should be accessible. And that's an argument. So what's an argument? An argument is a perspective, a viewpoint. And this title might be expressing a viewpoint. And your job as a visual analyst is to understand what the viewpoint is that is being expressed by the way the text is presented to you. Now, I spent this time talking about the title, the language. Now, let me talk about the contrast in this visual, in this text. Do you see the contrast between the white foreground and the purple background? You should talk about this contrast. And what is there? There's a color contrast. How is it being done? By using two colors which actually contrast very strongly, the white and purple. And why it's being done? To draw the attention of the consumer or the reader, because in today's world we have a lot of publications and every publisher has to compete against other publications to draw the reader's attention. And now the publishers are trying their best to draw our attention, and this is one way they are trying to draw our attention. Now, do you see the tiny thin line there? What would happen if you do not have this horizontal line below the title? Everything is an argument. Just imagine the line is not there. What will happen? Look, another important aspect in visual analysis is the use of space. How a text or how a cultural artifact uses space, the division of space, the structure of space, the shape of space. Do you see the title is written, placed inside a circle? Look, the structure of the cover page. There are triangles, there are rectangles, there are squares. Do you see there are geometrical shapes on this cover page? Did you pay attention? I don't know the vocabulary to describe all the spatial structures, but the most important I see in the center is the circle. Circles are very important, right? I'll say the circle probably is one of the most important geometrical shape, right? Had I been mathematician, I could speak more about that. Now, this horizontal line, if you see, it is placed slightly below the half area of the circle. See, it divides, let's say, 60% up and 40% below. Why did the designers not place this horizontal circle right in the middle to divide it 50-50? No, that wouldn't be appropriate because it will give a wrong message. By placing this circle slightly below the half area and dividing the circle into, let's say, 60 above and 40 below, they are making a visual argument. What? The argument is that the title of the textbook is much more important than the authors. Who wrote the book is less important. What did they write is more important. This perspective, or the argument that in a book titles matter more than the authors, could also have been made, let's say, is also made in another way. Do you see the size of the font now? If you pay attention, the words ninth edition are in all caps, right? Another feature, visual feature. They have been the top piece is all capital, ninth edition, and this all cap draws attention. It's a bit looks beautiful, formal, and the title is not all caps, right? It violates the traditional rule of punctuation capitalization. And the thin line, the line is so thin, but it's even more visible because of the color contrast. Have you seen sometimes there's a beautiful face of a glamorous, beautiful, cute girl, and the small bindi right between the two eyes is so tiny, but it's so visible because the black spot contrasts beautifully against the fair face, right? Like the moon on the night sky in the night sky. Now, I said even the line is placed strategically with a purpose, and it is dividing the circle into 60-40 ratio and making the argument that the book's title is more important than the names of the author. Now, while writing the names of the author, the designer, the publisher, the editors decided not to violate any rules. I don't know how to pronounce these names. I'll try. Andrea, the middle name is abbreviated A. Lunsford. Why did they decide to abbreviate the middle name? What would happen if the middle name is also spelled fully? It will require large space and the text will look cluttered and it will give a bad visual impression to the reader. So to make sure that the readers know clearly the name of the author and also it looks beautiful, they decide to use the middle name in abbreviated form. Andrea A. Lunsford, John F. Ruskiewicz. I don't know how to pronounce and I don't know the nationality of the authors. And below that author's name, can you see box there, text box? And what is the design of this text box? This is, I'll say, sleeping rectangular. I'm not an expert in geometrical shapes, but I think it should be, I'll say, a rectangular shape that is lying vertically. And do you see the edges of this shape? The corners, the four corners of this structure shape, they are not pointed out. They had the edges have been I don't know how to say in English, and I realize my command of English language is poor here. I don't know. The edges have been trimmed, I'll say. Edges have been trimmed to make it look more beautiful, gliding, I'll say. And inside, there are two things. There is another image. Uh, there's a flag. the logo of Macmillan Publication Company, and there is Macmillan Learning. To text, two words, Macmillan Learning, and to the contrast, the word Macmillan is printed in red, let's say, and learning is in black. All right, because I copied and pasted this cover page, maybe it's not so visible to you. And below that text box, you see another word. What is that? A tiny text, TM, trademark. Though they look tiny, but they are there, asserting the trademark. And do you see right on the cover page, the publishers are asserting their presence, their existence, right? So do you see how much is packed up in a small cover page? I'm not expert in visual analysis. If I wish there was a professor with me, or I wish a professor made such a video, he would tell you more about that. I'm doing this to learn, right? Now, uh, I paid attention to the shape of the um, uh, structure, circle, and then I paid attention to the division of the space, 60-40, and I argued that the 60-40 ratio is making an argument or expressing a viewpoint that or text, the title of the textbook is more important than the author's name. And I talked to color contrast. You see three colors. Background is purple and foreground is white and yellow. I'll say four colors. Background purple, foreground white, foreground yellow, foreground light blue, foreground uh, red, foreground black. Six colors have been used in a very strategic way, artistic way. So do you see, it's an art, it's a piece of art. So when you are analyzing a visual text, you pay attention to the artistic aspect of how language is used, how a text not only says something, but also how a text shows something to you. So when we make a visual analysis, we pay attention to what we see rather than what we read, right? Now, let's go back to other aspects. Do you see the structure, the division of space on this 8 by 10? I guess it is 8 inches by 10 or 12 inches textbook. I don't have a hard copy with me. I downloaded a soft copy illegally from online library. We teachers here in Nepal are not allowed to pay easily in dollars, and it's not so easy to import books. And I don't think we can buy an original copy of this book here in our shops. So I downloaded. Now, the circle is in the foreground, and if you pay attention, the design, do you see the shadow of the circle? Looks like there is a kind of three-dimensional effect. If you pay attention, there is a three-dimensional effect. For example, this side you see a small circle, looks like a round coffee table. You see, there is no shadow this side. Looks like the sun was this side, and so it cast shadow this side. So there is this shadow, right? So there is 3D effect. And this is very important because the publishers look the competition in drawing attention. They we have two-dimensional text, right? Two-dimensional images. Now we have dimensions more than two. There's a third dimension, right? With three, we may have 4D, 5D, or even 8 dimensions, right? I don't know, because today in this digital world, we have digital text, and today, because of digital technology, the way text is presented shows more imagination. Now, behind this foregrounded circle, what shapes do we have? I don't know how to describe these circles. My knowledge of English language is limited here. Look, I am a teacher of English language, but I'm not able to describe these shapes because I'm not a teacher of mathematics. Had I been a teacher of mathematics, I would have been able to describe these shapes. First of all, let's divide this cover page into a vertical rectangle, right? And then draw a vertical line in the middle, and then a horizontal line in the middle, and then four corners. Divide the page into four equal sections, right? Now let's talk about the top right hand corner. I'll place my cursor to point to. So you see a picture on top right corner. What do you see? Now this is a real picture, maybe taken by a camera by a journalist. Okay, so what do you see there? Now you see what do you call uh, the device, the tool that policemen carry with them, a shield, a safety shield, a protective shield, that there is a text on it, police, and even the text in two colors. You see in the first shield, uh, the background is blue, the foreground is yellow. In the second shield, the background is black, the foreground is white. In the third shield, the background is blue and yellow, black and white. Because blue and yellow is a very good contrast, black and white is a very good contrast. And then because the shields are transparent, if you pay close attention, you can see the armed personnel, the policemen. You can see their facial gears. They are wearing a face protective mask, I guess, some sort of equipment to protect their face. And if you see very carefully, they are holding uh, uh, sticks in their hand, right? You can see their hands, and you can see the posture. They are in alert posture, and they look to be very sternly looking at something. They look stern, right? Now, as you look on this picture, this is a picture appearing on the cover page of an academic textbook prescribed at the university. Why do we have this textbook? And the title, this book is about argument, right? What argument, if any, does this picture make? So now, as you begin to analyze this visual text, go like this. For example, what is this picture about? First question, what? This picture is about the police force. Okay. Now, think about police force. Who uses police force? The state. When do they use police force? When there is violence. Only yesterday, I was riding down my central campus at TU, and as I approached this gate, there was a big crowd, huge crowd, chanting slogans and walking toward the vice chancellor's office. And I was so scared, lest they should uh, lest they should throw stones on my motorcycle, or lest they should attack me. Then I took to the sides and stopped my bike, and with a timid heart kept waiting for them to pass by. And what I could see that there were about 100 students in that crowd, and these 100 students were surrounded by equally about 100 policemen. They were surrounding them, and they were walking up the street inside the university, and they were chanting slogans against the examination department, exam controllers department, right? They were chanting slogans. They were very angry, they were agitated, and they were demonstrating, and they were surrounded by the policemen, and the policemen were making a signal to us, side malagnus, like that. I don't know how to say that in English. So what I did, I became imaginative, and I asked the question, where is police force used? And I said, when there is agitation, when there is demonstration, when there is violence, when there is social or political unrest, when there is struggle, fight, conflict. Now the question comes, what does force do? What does police force do? Now, multiple answers will come. Somebody can say it controls anarchy and brings law and order. Another fellow can say no, it exerts violence on citizens and violates human rights. Now look, the argument. Now you have the debate here. Do we is police force good, or does the state use police force in the right way? One can say yes, we need police force, else we can't maintain law and order in the state. Somebody can say no, that's a bad thing. The state is using police force as state control apparatus. I don't know. I just say Louis Althusser talks about that, right? State apparatus that is state uses to to uh, suppress unwanted ideology and to spread the state ideology. The arguments come now. And this is what you need to do when you make a visual analysis. Your question is, what is on the top right corner? Answer is an image that shows policemen in action. Now, your second question is, uh, how is this image uh, presented? The answer is the defensive shields are highlighted. Do you see? This image must have been cropped to foreground the defensive shields. What would happen if in the same image the shields were not foregrounded and the faces of the policemen were seen? It will make another meaning. Now, when the shields are foregrounded, it brings the idea of law and order. It brings the idea of conflict. It brings the idea of force. It brings the idea of use of force, function of force in a state system, state mechanism. So, how is this picture used? It is used strategically to express a viewpoint. How can you say so? Because the designers decided to focus on the shields rather than focusing on something else. How? What? The shield? How? Cropping and focusing these shields? Why? The third question is, why do you think the designers are use this thing? And then the answer is to make a point, to express an intention, to express a viewpoint, to express a perspective, to make an argument. Why? The answer to why. Now, again, you put a question. What argument? What viewpoint? Now you imagine. Probably the argument is that in today's world, when this book is being published in 21st century, there is a lot of social unrest around the world. Whether it's China, whether it's America, you remember what happened during pandemic. There were mandatory rules to wear face masks, and many Americans came into the street protesting against this mandatory rule. They said, no, it's our fundamental right to decide whether we want a face mask or not. Even there were Americans who took to the streets opposing the shorts. So this image expresses a perspective about the use of force by the American government to suppress demonstrations, people who were opposing its policies. One analysis. You can connect this image to Nepalese situation and analyze that way. Now, I gave you one example of by analyzing the top right corner image. Now you can do the same thing to the top left corner. First, ask a question. What do I see in this visual text? Describe beautifully. Write a descriptive paragraph. Talk about the visual images. I see a black background, yellow background, and I see about 4 masks or 5 masks. How have they been placed? They have been placed in a simple way on the table as if they are being demonstrated. And now this image, what? Masks. Now, how have they been placed? They have been placed in the rectangular shape. They just assert their presence. What do they say? Do they say something? Yes, they remind me about the pandemic, 2019 COVID-19 pandemic. And now the whole story comes to my mind. What happened to me? What happened to my daughter? She was sick. What happened to my friend, colleague at the university? He died of COVID. Whole memories, the whole gamut comes. The whole bad memories are triggered by this image. And I'll say it is intended. The designer of this cover page wants me to think about the pandemic as a crisis, right? And today we have arguments about such issues. Do you see this cover page is highlighting the burning issues of 21st century around the world? There is violence, there is pandemic. Then the third picture, if you see, you can spend more time. You can pause my video and do this exercise more. If you see the third picture, I'm trying to be brief because I began by thinking I'll make a 5-minute video, and I'm afraid it might become a 50-minute video, but I guess it's useful. Third picture, see, the basic structure of these shapes is spaces is similar. The top right picture is also like this. The top left is also like this. The top bottom is also like this. So I don't know. I'll say, shall we say 45-degree, 30-degree? Somebody watching who has mathematical knowledge, please write in the comment box what degree, how can we use the expression degree to describe the shape of these uh, structures, right? Spaces. Now, voted by mail. Have you seen in Nepal, online voting or postal voting from a distance has been a very burning issue. There is a case filed in the Supreme Court also demanding the right to vote by mail, because we hear that millions of Nepalese people are outside the country, and it's not possible for them to come here to cast their vote. And so people argue now, political parties argue that we should allow Nepalese people staying outside the country to cast their vote through uh, uh, mail, right? And the same argument is around the world today. So now this relates to democracy now, right? What is democracy and what democracy should do? What are the fundamental rights of the people? This is about constitution. Now look, the law, constitution, democracy, politics is there. Now it makes an argument by placing this picture on the cover. The editors or the writers of this textbook are making the argument that it's time we allowed people to use their, what do you call, the right to an franchisement. I don't know the English word for that. The right to cast their vote, the right to vote by mail, right? So it makes a claim. We should allow people to vote by mail also. Then if you go down, that's a picture I love. Somebody reading, a beautiful girl reading, a blonde girl reading there. Why did they choose this uh, racial girl? Do you see this girl does not look European by race? If you pay close attention, her facial, racial identity is not white, mainstream, European, or, but she looks more like, I should say, Korean, Japanese, Asian, Chinese. But I'm sure her face is not canonical European face, uh, a mainstream European face, right? The white, uh, red-blooded uh, European face. And this is on purpose. This is done on purpose. Maybe they're trying to say that they're focusing ethnicity, they're focusing multiculturalism by choosing this picture. They could have brought a picture of traditional European face. Why did they choose to use a picture of immigrants in America, for example? She resembles more to the face of an immigrant, someone who has come to America from Korea, for example. And what's she doing? She's reading. But how? She has a laptop open in front of her, and she's reading from a hard copy printed book. Traditionally, we use printed books, but today you see we're using digital platforms to read. How does this picture make an argument about learning today, teaching today, academy today? Maybe she is a student at the library, at the university in the library. So how this picture makes an argument about teaching and learning today, how it says something about the use of technology in the field of education, teaching, learning, right? You can't complete your studies just by having a hard copy of the book today. You need a digital tool like a laptop or iPad or mobile phone or something else, right? Now the last picture, again the same shape. I'll say this kind of shape, 90 degree. No, not 90, 60, 40, 45. I'll say. Now I think I'm right. Most of these structures are 45-degree structures. Now what do you see that the text fact? There's a magnifying glass, right? When do you use a magnifying glass? When you want to see things clearly. When do you want to see things clearly? When things are muddled. What does it indicate? Why are they talking about the word fact? Now today we are in the world of social media, Facebook, Twitter. Now, as I make this video, I remember seeing dozens of posts about Ravi Lamitsane. Yesterday, Ravi Lamitsane had his what do you call mm, interview with the correspondents. I didn't watch it, but I saw people commenting on social media. Now, are these facts? Are what people saying on the walls facts? Can we accept them on the face value? How do we deal with opinions on social media? And this says something. It says, hey, wait, before you believe what people are saying, cross check them. Check if they are facts or if they are fiction. And you will see that most of the time, not always, what you see on social media is less factual, more fictional, right? Although fiction also emerges as a fact, right? Leave that. But I'll say there is more opinion and less fact. There is more falsity and less truthfulness. So this picture makes an argument that today we can't believe people, we can't believe the media, we can't believe newspapers, we can't believe television, we can't believe even books like this. We need to check how factual they are. So what I did, I don't know how much time I spent. I just did a self-learning exercise because I'll be teaching this book in about 10 days from now in my classroom, and I'm preparing for my classroom. So I'm rehearsing. Now I'm in a better position to present my class with a clear understanding, right? And I recorded this thing and I posted here with the belief that learning should be accessible to everyone, right? Without payment. I will say that learning should be accessible without money. And so I made this video for you. Uh, if you are a student at the university, I hope you benefited. If you're a teacher teaching, I hope you saw one way a teacher like me is trying to understand. You can post your video, making your analysis of some text. I learn from your video. If you are not a teacher, not a student, but if you're interested in such stuff of analysis, I believe it was useful to you, interesting to you, right? You will have to pay huge amount of money to understand such things. You will have to be a student at university. You will have to take admissions to see such things. But I'm bringing you free of cost. So if you like this video, you can think of subscribing my channel. The name of my channel is Divakar Upadhyay Aryal, and I often place such academic stuff. My bent of mind is I am a kind of visual guy. I learn better visually, less verbally. So I love making such videos. Please pass comments. Nobody passes comments. Say something about this video, how effective it was, how helpful it was. Can you in the comment section write something which I couldn't pay attention to? Can you aid to my visual analysis? Thank you so much for your patience and sparing time from a busy schedule and watching my video. Thank you so much.